Welcome to an outrageous comparison test here at AutoGuide, because behind me I have over 1,000 horsepower. Yeah, you heard that right, I said 1,000 horsepower, and I'm fully aware all I have behind me is a small crossover from Kia and Ford. But it is a brave new world where getting a lot of power from an electric motor isn't that difficult. To overly simplify things, it is much easier to make vehicles like the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance and the Kia EV6 GT. But you're not here to hear about that, you want to see which one's better. Both of these vehicles have sports car level of performance, power, and of course price tags. So let's go find out. Man, what a bad week for Kyle to be away. The GT is the top dog in the EV6 range. It has a dual motor setup that makes an incredible 567 horsepower and 545 pound-feet of torque. Of course, to get all this power to the ground, it uses all-wheel drive. Kia claims this nearly 4,800 pound crossover can go from 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds. That's properly quick. I think I want to get a little taste. Let's try right here. I'll just slow it down, come to a stop. All right, and off we go. Whoa. Now, obviously that wasn't a run to 60, but you can feel that power. It is there in an instant, and there is lots of it. Yesterday, I was playing around with the car in wet snow conditions, and it didn't phase launching the vehicle. The 4 tires just grip and go. Slow things down though, and the EV6 GT is perfectly docile. In normal driving, there's plenty of power, but it's easy to drive smoothly and softly. Of course, like many modern EVs, there's fake noises available to mimic some sort of engine, or in this case, motor noise. I can customize how I want the vehicle to sound, or go with the cosmic spaceship sound. The only real downside to the EV6 GT is the range. In optimal conditions, it will only travel up to 206 miles on a charge. That's partially due to the somewhat small battery pack of 77.4 kilowatt hours, and of course there is 556 horsepower. Utilize the EV6's 2,300 pound towing capacity, or make continued 0 to 60 mile per hour sprints, and the range will only get worse. Kia wants the EV6 GT to be more than a one-trick pony, so installed at all 4 corners are 255/40 R21 summer tires. Mine though have been replaced with winter rubber, as it's that time of year, and the fronts in particular look like they have led a very hard life. Now, to get all of this power and weight stopped, there are big 15-inch rotors up front and 14.2-inch rotors in the rear. The GT exhibits minimum body roll when taking quick freeway on-ramps or blasting along windy country roads. The vehicle does its best in trying to hide its portly weight. The crisp steering and responsive drivetrain make the EV6 GT act like it's at least 1,000 pounds lighter. But there's only so much the engineers could do to overcome physics, and every once in a while the GT suddenly reminds me of just how heavy it is. Probably the best way to describe how this car drives is that it's like a large premium sports sedan. Think of some of the heavyweight V8 monsters with granite-like chassis and you get the idea. It's equally as fun as those vehicles, but in a different way. Sometimes you don't feel as connected to the vehicle as you would in some of these gasoline-powered cars, but at other times, the instant torque and great responses make the vehicle just go. The Kia does a great job of swallowing up bumps as well. I expected a high-performance version of this vehicle to ride a lot stiffer, but broken pavement and bumps in the road are just taken with ease. And best of all, it does so very quietly. Now, one thing it doesn't do so well, that is turn around. It has a large turn radius, so plan your maneuvers appropriately. The EV6 GT's interior is funky without being over the top. I really do like the style and some of the design elements. All the usual screens and controls are where you expect them. If you've been in any modern Kia, jumping into the EV6 should be no problem, as you'll know how to operate it right away. Headroom in the front seats is only listed at 36.8 inches. Now I'm about 6 feet tall and my head just misses brushing the roof liner, so anyone taller than me might not fit. The rear seat actually offers more headroom and plenty of legroom. Full-size adults will fit back there no problem, but I do think the seat cushion is positioned maybe just a little too low. Now there's no panoramic sunroof in this vehicle, but the rear windows are big and square and provide plenty of light. The cargo area is long, but very shallow. It could take a lot of grocery bags, but nothing moderately tall. Total space is just 24.4 cubic feet, and although the all-wheel drive EV6 does have a front trunk, it's pretty much useless. The front seats are very supportive and quite comfortable, but in this $63,000 crossover, neither have any power functions. Yeah, 63 grand and no power seats. Oh, and there's no rear window wiper either. The swept up rear taillights do keep road spray off the rear window, but not the rain. On the plus side, the EV6 does have some features not found in the Mustang Mach-E, like the lane watch cameras and the head-up display. The Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance only has 480 horsepower. I know, it sounds kind of strange using the word only when referring to 480 horsepower, but it is 86 horsepower less than the Kia EV6 GT. But like any good American car, the Mach-E GT does have 634 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot of torque and 89 more pound-feet than in the Kia. Even though this car weighs close to 5,000 pounds, Ford still claims it can do 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, so acceleration between it and the Kia are pretty much a wash. But thanks to all the extra torque, around town, especially at lower speeds, the Ford does feel a little bit faster. In fact, it's even possible to break the front tires loose during launch. Here, I'll show you. And here we go. Like the EV6, the Mustang Mach-E also has enhanced motor sounds. Here it's trying to mimic a more traditional engine note compared to the robotic noises from the Kia. I'd even say it's kind of trying to sound like a Mustang V8. Listen to that fake V8 noise. The Mach-E also has no problem being driven at a more relaxed pace, even in its more aggressive unbridled mode. The biggest advantage Ford has, though, is in range. With a larger 91 kilowatt-an-hour battery, the Mach-E GT Performance can go 260 miles on a single charge. That's over 25% further than the EV6 GT. Not a small difference. Oh, and the Mustang is also more efficient in the way it uses its electricity. The Mach-E lives up to its Mustang name, as this feels the most like a muscle car out of any EV I've ever driven. It's just the way the power is delivered on and off throttle, the way the body has a little bit of motion but is otherwise controlled. It just has a big brutish feel to it behind the wheel. It's not trying to hide its weight as much as the EV6 does. In fact, the Mach-E almost embraces it. The handling is still quite good and steering very responsive, especially in unbridled mode. But the quick responses of the EV6 aren't quite found here in the Mach-E GT. It is a little more predictable to drive, but it doesn't have those reflexes that we found in the Kia. If we were to race them on a track or to go attack a twisty canyon road, I'd put my money on the EV6 GT being the winner. Part of this is probably due to the Mustang's higher and narrower tires, as it wears 245/45 R20. The Mach-E's interior here is nice and is a different modern design take than compared to the Kia's. There's a mix of hard and soft touch materials as well as some fabric on the dash. I wouldn't necessarily say one interior is better than the other, but if I were to pick my favorite, I'd probably go with the Kia's. When it comes to the mandatory weird door handles that all EVs seem to have, the Mach-E is the champion. To open any of the exterior doors, you simply just push a button with your thumb, and the fronts even have the tiniest little handle to pull to open it. Even the interior door handles are a little odd, as it's like a giant toggle switch here to open them from the inside. Speaking of buttons and switches, one design element I don't like on either vehicle has to do with the rear cargo hatch. They both have their button to open up the power liftgate down by the license plate. It's where all of the grime and dirt and crap collect from road spray. So if you're trying to open it on a messy day, your hand's gonna get equally messy. But back to how it drives. It really does feel like I'm driving more of an SUV than the sports sedan feel I get in the EV6. Maybe it's the high seating position, or maybe it's the long sculpted hood, but it feels like I'm in sort of a muscle SUV when I'm behind the wheel of the Mach-E. On paper, the Mach-E has more headroom, and from behind the wheel, I can notice it. The front seat here is more comfortable and still pretty supportive, but not as supportive as the one found in the EV6. But if I was to pick my favorite between the two, my body type, or maybe more importantly, my age, would prefer the extra comfort found here in the Mach-E. And when it comes to cargo capacity, yeah, it's another win for the Mustang Mach-E. Now, visually, the cargo area may not seem as deep and as wide as the one found in the Kia, but it's much taller, and better still, there is a lot more space that's much more usable. In the rear seat, I'd say legroom and headroom are pretty much even between the Mach-E and the EV6 in real-world use. The roof does slope down though over the rear window in the Mach-E, which kind of blocks your view. But thanks to this fantastic glass roof, it still feels airy and not claustrophobic at all. If I was to pick again which one I'd rather spend time in, I'm gonna choose the Mach-E. And that glass roof is just one of the items that's found on the Mach-E that is missing from the EV6. That list also includes dual power front seats, the rear wiper, and Ford's fantastic Blue Cruise. Add in a larger trunk, more useful frunk, and the better range I mentioned earlier, and it seems like the Mustang Mach-E is running away with this competition. Well, not so fast. As tested, there's a $9,000 price gap between the two vehicles in the United States. In Canada, it grows to about $16,000. So it really comes down to a question of, is the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Premium worth the extra money over the Kia EV6 GT? It's not an easy question to answer, as there are a lot of cool things that come in the Ford not available in the Kia. And also the vehicles are a little different, as this is the more engaging vehicle to drive and this is the better overall EV. Ask me tomorrow and my choice may have changed, but for now, I think I will save the money, deal with the shorter range and a few missing options, and pick the Kia EV6 GT.
Hey Mike, sorry I'm late. What'd I miss?
1,000 horsepower.
Oh.